Well, this will not be an easy podcast to do, to say the least. If there is any one celebrity, any one person in entertainment that we have been dreading talking about the end of his life, it is that of Stanley. We'll be talking about him, we'll be talking about some other fun stuff, we'll be talking about people with some terrible takes when it comes to such a great man. But we'll get to all of it. My name is Micah Curtis.
I'm Alex Baldwin, also known as The Hatman.
Welcome to Micah and The Hatman. Excelsior. What a week, Hatman. Let's go ahead and get straight into it. What was your pick of the week?
Die Hard.
The greatest Christmas movie ever.
A very damn good Christmas movie. And I will fight anyone who says it is not a Christmas movie.
Well, there are two kinds of people. There are people who think that Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and then there are people who are wrong!
Yeah. Yeah. And now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho. Yeah, so Fathom Events was doing a 30th anniversary screening of Die Hard. I went to go see it. Watching it in the theater is the best way to see it, honestly. It's going to be hard to watch it again on a TV after this. It's that much better. But yeah, Die Hard, it still holds up. It's probably, if I could pick the perfect action movie, I would probably pick Die Hard. Because it's so insanely detailed. Like, you go back and watch it again and really, really pay attention to certain things. You will see things that you totally missed before. And I'm not talking like foreshadowing, really, but just simple little details. You're like, hey, they remembered that, or hey, that was something that got mentioned earlier that got brought back. That's cool. It's so good for little things like that. And of course, John McClane is a fucking badass.
Yeah,
of course. And God rest his soul, Alan Rickman as well. And I believe that was his first major film role too. Am I right?
I think.
Pretty certain it was, but yeah, Hans Gruber, and talk about a brilliant villain too. Hans Gruber is up there. Like, he is just, he's great. He's funny to watch, of course. You like him, but you also hate him because he's such a bastard.
Pretty much. Well, those are sometimes some of the best villains. Oh
yeah, absolutely. But it's like he's just so smart. Like, he's plotting all of this out, like, one step ahead. Even though he's totally blindsided by John McClane getting away and killing people and shit, he feels like, and he acts like, and he really is one step ahead the entire time. Except for the meeting. That where he actually meets him in person for the first time. That is like the greatest. That is, I don't know if I could say that's the greatest moment in the movie, but that is like one of the best.
Oh yeah.
It does not. It does not go how you expect it, and it's wonderful. It is so wonderful. Also, the bromance, man. And I know I don't ever use that word, but Al and shall I call him Roy Rogers?
Oh, yes.
But no, Die Hard, of course, great movie, great Christmas movie. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
How would you rate the trilogy of which are the best? The other two movies don't count.
Hold on, the other two movies don't count, but rate the trilogy?
Yes. The first three films.
Oh, the first. Okay, I thought you were saying rate the trilogy. I'm like, hold on now. If I can't rate Die Hard 2 and 3, no, it's basically in order. It's 1, 2, and 3.
Really? I thought 2 was weaker than 3.
I like Die Hard 3.
Really? Mm-hmm. I like it for what it is. I think that I had quite a bit of fun with the third one, more so than the second one.
Yeah.
Not to mention Sam Jackson as the race baiting goofball is just hilarious to me.
Yeah, that's all right.
All right, my pick of the week.
Stuff.
Yeah, my pick of the week. I revisited a game that I had not played in a bit, and oddly enough, it's probably the game that I'm most known for playing. Is For Honor.
Deus Vult.
Deus Vult. And specifically, I went back for one mode in multiplayer. One. Called Breach. Breach is the one thing that everybody thought For Honor should have had from the get-go, and that is a siege mode, where you are basically besieging a castle or you are on the defending side of a siege. And it is freaking awesome!
Trebuchets?
Oddly enough, no. You can't use trebuchets. Well, some classes have an ability to use a catapult maneuver. So I'm assuming there's a trebuchet somewhere. You just don't see it.
It's a siege. Why would you not bring a trebuchet?
I don't know. But anyway, the basic idea of it is that there's only 3 maps so far, but there will probably be, they've said there will be more soon. There's a Viking map, there's a Crusade map, for better or worse. It is literally a castle siege in a desert that looks a lot like the Holy Land. And there's a samurai-based map as well. And all 3 of them... Yeah, all 3 of them are freaking incredible. The mode is just a ton of fun. And it's really cool because it does legitimately require strategy. It's not just about being the best at the game. It's about whether or not you can actually outthink your opponent and out-strategize. Brainbox and I played it a lot yesterday, and I was playing it with Brain and Talon Silverbane today, and we're probably going to play it after we do the My Little Pony review after this. And, which, yeah, that is happening. That the video will be out this week. But anyway, It's amazing. That's really all I can say about it. Like, this game, I don't understand why more people aren't playing it. From what I have seen, a lot of people have come back to it. I have not picked up the entire expansion of Marching Fire. That's one of those things that if somebody wants me to review it, you're more than one. This is where I point at the Streamlabs link. I would certainly not be against giving you a review of all the characters and all the other stuff next week on the podcast. Wink. But, needless to say, though, this particular mode is, in my opinion, enough to start playing it again. You know, this is a game that needed a mode like this. If you're going to set it in, like, this low fantasy samurai versus Vikings versus knights sort of scenario, the fact that there wasn't a siege mode already was kind of criminal. Mm-hmm. But now it's back. It is worth playing. And the kicker about Breach mode, it's free. It's free real estate. Now, in all seriousness, though, it is free for anybody who owns this video game. Anybody who owns it can play it. So if you don't have For Honor yet, I would suggest picking it up. It is awesome. All right. Let's move on to a topic that already was not easy for me to talk about the first time I did it.
Stan the Man.
So for those who don't know, a few days ago, Stan Lee was rushed to the hospital and passed away at the age of 95. He had been having health issues lately. Had attended the Black Panther movie premiere in a wheelchair. I think he was walking, though, for Infinity War, if I recall correctly.
He was battling pneumonia earlier this year.
Yeah. But he kept fighting. He kept doing interviews. Kept going to conventions.
Yep.
And stuff like that, too.
Still was talking about, even 3 days before his death, was talking about doing cameos.
And excited about comic books.
Oh, yeah. He lost his wife, Joan,
last year. They had been married for some 60-odd years.
Yeah, which was, of course, devastating for him. And Koopa's Revenge also points out he was also subjected to elder abuse.
Yeah.
Elder abuse.
Which earlier in the year, I believe he had fired like most of the people around him because of what was going on.
He did cover it on a previous podcast.
And I would be lying if I said he is not the main reason I want to make comic books. I said it in the video that I did, like, Stan Lee has been an influence of mine ever since I was that little kid watching the Marvel Action Hour on a Saturday morning. And for those of you who are younger than I am, like, you got to understand how big comics were in the 90s. Not just Image and Spawn and Savage Dragon and stuff like that. Like, a lot of people like to make a big deal of that, but you had Amazing Spider-Man was being done by David Michelini at the time. It was really good. You had Venom. You had the X-Men, which had been good since the 80s with Chris Claremont. Fabian Isaiah had taken over at that point and was doing kind of the, your Fatal Attraction and stuff like that, Age of Apocalypse.
X-Men Classic come back at that time, too.
Yeah. X-Force was a big deal at the time. Rob Liefeld, of course, was at his pinnacle. There was a lot of really good stuff going on at that time. Ghost Rider was really good. That was the Daniel Ketch era. And on TV, you couldn't be awake on a Saturday and not see something that Stan Lee had a hand in making originally. Like those characters. Spider-Man, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, Iron Man. And that's what made me fall in love with these characters. It wasn't just the characters themselves and the initial draw. It was how Stan Lee sold me on every single episode every morning. You got to remember something about the Marvel Action Hours. He introduced every single episode of every show. Between the Fantastic Four, which he created, of course, and Iron Man, which he created. He was very passionate about those characters. About Tony Stank. I'm actually kind of bummed that he never got to see a really good version of the Fantastic Four on film before he passed away.
It's very unfortunate. But he was... Though
if I remember right, he did say good things about Michael Chiklis as Ben Grimm. Which is warranted, because Michael Chiklis was legitimately good as Ben Grimm.
It was.
But anyway.
I'd bring him back.
I would too.
But no, his approach to superheroes was so different. And of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Jack Kirby as well.
Of course, he and Jack were so ahead of their time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because here's the thing, like, one thing you guys got to understand about this is that there was a point where superheroes, for better or worse, were felt to be invincible.
Oh yeah,
all of them, even the ones that weren't.
They were gods learning to be men, as opposed to
men learning to be gods, in a sense. And that was what Stan Lee said. Now, oddly enough, the best example of him talking about this is in the movie Mallrats, where he says, everybody I created had problems. And it's true. And that's something, that's where the world outside your window comes from. Despite what some people would like to spin it as, what Stan and Jack meant was, these are characters that you can identify with because they have problems like you do. Mm-hmm. They have anger issues. They have self-image issues. Well, let's go from anger issues. The Hulk. Self-image issues. Spider-Man. You've got allegiance to your nation and all the struggles that come with it. Captain America. You have ego. Iron Man.
And alcoholism later on.
Well, yeah, that would be what David Michelini introduced. Mm-hmm. That's another guy who's way ahead of his time, and apparently one of Stan's favorite people at Marvel at the time was David and Walt Simonson. He loved Walt Simonson's Thor, but Thor was another one. Thor had an ego problem too. That was why he gave that hammer that enchantment. Whosoever is worthy shall wield the power of Thor. Well, that was why Stan created it that way.
Early Thor was quite literally a man learning to become a god.
Yeah.
Back when Donald Blake was a thing.
One thing that a lot of people don't understand, what part of the reason that I love the first Thor is it feels like a movie that was written by Stan Lee. Mm. It really does. And acted out. Because one thing a lot of people don't understand, Stan was a huge fan. Him and Jack were huge fans of Shakespeare. Mm-hmm. They loved Shakespearean plays.
Shakespearean, absolutely.
And Thor is the most Shakespearean character they created.
Which makes sense that they have a Shakespearean like Kenneth Branagh direct the first one anyway.
Yeah, that's why I still love that movie. I know that there's weaknesses. I know people have problems with Natalie Portman. The rest of it's great, honestly. Yeah. Like, I can't remember who all played the Warriors 3. It was
I don't remember.
Zac Efron. Who else was there? Who was it? Oh God, I can't remember.
I don't know off the top of my head. I couldn't tell you.
Well, it's Fandral, Hogan, and Volstagg, and Zac Efron played Fandral. I should know who played Volstagg, and I should know who played Ray, what's his name? Played the Punisher, too. Ray Bradbury?
Bradbury?
Not Bradbury. No. What's his name?
Stevenson.
Ray Stevenson. And I definitely can't remember the guy who played Hogan. But, oh, Tadanobu Asano. But anyway, that was a film that had that lighthearted feeling that Stan could bring to his work. Mm. And he was so far ahead of his time in that regard. Superman didn't have problems. Batman's comics did not focus on his guilt, survivor's guilt, over his family dying. You know, Wonder Woman did not have the issue of that much of an issue with fitting in with normal people.
Yeah,
like those came later. Those were post-crisis things.
It was good guys fight bad guys. It was not people with issues. It wasn't even really character driven.
No, but Marvel was.
It was pure escapism. Marvel absolutely was still escapism, but it was escapism that you could still relate to. Spider-Man being probably the best example, because he was the nerd. He was the social outcast. He was the kind of person that basically emulated your average comic reader at that time. And he still managed to become great. Or amazing, dare I say.
Indeed. And every time, I'll just say it, every time Stan Lee ever appeared on, I can't cry because I think of how much he makes me smile. Mm. That's a weird thing for me. You know, and where would entertainment even be these days without superheroes that he created? And that's what I love about this man's life, with all the hardships that people seem to like to focus on with him, which is understandable because they were pretty bad. But when you think about it, this is a guy who got to see the influence of his characters all the way until the day he died. Mm-hmm. Characters he created were ridiculously popular all the way until he passed away. How many entertainers get to say that?
I mean,
not many.
They've never been more popular.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think, honestly, it's fitting too that the last cameo that he recorded was for Spider-Man: Far From Home. Spider-Man, was always his favorite.
And did you hear what he told the director of that film?
I didn't. What'd he say?
Take care of my boy.
Mm.
Because that's one thing I've always loved about Stan Lee, is that Spider-Man was always his favorite creation. And in my opinion, it was his greatest. Because in my opinion, I think he created the greatest superhero ever.
I think so too.
And I'll always be a Marvel Comics character fan. I'm not a fan of the way they're running the business right now, but I'll always be a fan of those characters that he made.
Yes. Because even if you've got the rags coming out there now, you still have the classic stories.
You still and the people that he trusted, he you know, they did make wise decisions in the past. You know, you think about how Stan set the foundation for someone like Peter David to take the ball and run with it with the Hulk, for someone like David Michelini and J. Michael Straczynski to take it with Spider-Man and Thor and run with it, or also Walt Simonson and Thor and run with it, and then of course David Michelini and somebody else I'm forgetting for Iron Man and several other, well, Warren Ellis with Iron Man.
Yeah,
you know, it's. And then, of course, you have, with Captain America, Mark Waid. Sorry, guys, but Mark Waid did have a great run on the book. And Ed Brubaker on those books. Those guys were simply following or carrying a torch that Stan Lee gave to them.
Mm-hmm.
He was the best.
He was the man. Stan the man.
So, Stan, thank you for everything. For everything you gave us. You made my childhood awesome. You've made my adult life and the entertainment in my adult life awesome. And I really look forward to, if I ever have children, to passing these things on to them. Even though he's gone, he's still the immortal Stan Lee.
Enough said.
All right. Excelsior, true believers. That was, you know, oddly enough, that was my favorite statement that he would always say, is true believers.
Mm.
I love that. I always will.
Of course, I always like enough said.
That's a good one, too.
Always my favorite.
You know, oddly enough, real quick, Hatman, what's your favorite Stan Lee cameo?
A favorite Stan Lee cameo? You know...
Any movie he's ever been in.
You know... Of course, it would be Spider-Man 3, I think.
That one was a good one, even though the movie's not good at all.
I will disagree with you
Except for Sandman. Sandman's awesome. But
I will disagree with you on that one, but I still think that was the best cameo. Just him coming up to Peter Parker and saying, you know, I guess one person can make a difference. Enough said.
Enough said.
That is such a Stan Lee thing.
Yes, it is.
I always saw that as, like, Stan Lee, like, finally doing that, like, in person. Like, that's him addressing his creation.
Yeah.
That felt like the most genuine Stan Lee moment to me.
What my favorite was more recent. What was the one that he had in Venom? My mind is blanking.
Walking the dog at the very end of it.
Oh, that's right. My favorite is probably, oddly enough, from the most recent Spider-Man game, where he's running a restaurant and says, it's so great, because you've got Mary Jane and Spider-Man there, right? And he goes, it's so great to see you kids two back together. You two were always my favorite. I'm like,
oh, that's a sweet Stan moment.
I love you, Stan. I really do.
That's great. I love that.
Because I'm not big into the whole shipping thing, but dear, I grew up with Spider-Man and Mary Jane, man.
That's not even shipping. That's just expected.
Well, some people call it shipping, but I will always love the Spider-Man and Mary Jane pairing, and any romance I ever write will be chasing that relationship. I won't even lie to you.
They belong together. That's just expected.
Because let's face it, Gwen was gone in a snap.
Mm. I'm not gonna respond to that one. No.
All right, moving on. So, it seems like every time somebody dies, there has to be bad takes. And we got two of them for you that are pretty trash. Let's start off with the soon to be coming out Captain Marvel, Brie Larson, who is really making me wish that they just kept Marvel around and just had Jude Law play him. And just that's it. That's it. We don't need Carl Manvers. Just give me Jude Law as Marvel in the Avengers instead. Just get rid of her. Let's reshoot everything and get rid of her. I hate this woman now. Because she posts this picture of herself with a bag with her fucking name on it on Instagram saying, "Oh, I'm thinking so much about Stan Lee right now." What? No, you're not. You self-aggrandizing hooker. I just... Really? Aside from the second person we have to talk about, could there have been a worse take aside from the other guy? I can't think of one.
Not really, aside from the usual nonsense of, hey, did you know Stan Lee was an old white dude who was racist and sexist and homophobic and transphobic, the usual nonsense.
Like
that's to be expected.
It couldn't be like a shot of her in the costume and say, I'm really looking forward to, portraying a character and trying to honor his legacy but through this character or something along those lines. It could be something that your fucking publicist wrote. I don't care. It could have been better than this. And look, I'm obviously upset. And maybe I just said something I shouldn't have, but here's the facts. That's incredibly egotistical.
Yeah.
Because it's not about you. I'm sorry to upset you, Brie Larson, but this is not about you. Okay? This is not about you. It's about somebody else. Who, if he didn't exist, you wouldn't be poised to become the next big thing in the MCU as Kevin Feige expects you to be. Which I'm hoping you don't. Now I hope that her movie fails. Because now they're saying that apparently they are basing the Captain Marvel movie off of one of the writers who fucked up the character of Carol Danvers.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. We're getting to modern Marvel now.
Yeah.
So, just
they're proving Bob Chipman right, and that's what really gets at me.
It's funny because a buddy of mine said that he's going to be done with the MCU after the next Avengers movie.
Gonna be hard not to be. I'm gonna watch Spider-Man, and that's probably it. Honestly, unless they can do good Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
But I will say this: if Marvel expects, especially with this attitude, for everybody to hop on the Captain Marvel bandwagon, I'm sorry, but no. Everybody else treats the fan base and legends properly. Chadwick Boseman does, Tom Holland does, and so on and so forth, because they say goofy things because they're actors and they're goofy people. Creative people are weird. I say that as a creative person. We're weird.
Yeah.
We're weird and we're outspoken and we're oftentimes very wrong. But but at least those guys know how to treat people with respect when they pass away. This lady, not so much. Speaking of not so much, we have one of the most colossal idiots in politics, Bill Maher. Hatman. Please do me a favor and read what this dipshit said. If you have it pulled up.
I don't have it pulled up, but I'll go pull it up.
Because, I'll sum it up. He basically used the death of Stan Lee to take a dig at Donald Trump. I will say that again. He used the death of Stan Lee. He stood on the grave of Stan Lee to take a shot at Donald Trump.
All right. So blog post.
Just give us the big sentence that he had said about the dig at Trump, because that was just classless.
I don't think it's a huge stretch to suggest that Donald Trump could only get elected in a country that thinks comic books are important.
So here's the thing about Bill Maher. This is a guy who has argued against vaccination because you're putting a disease in your body. This is a guy who said that the terrorists who drove planes and killed civilians at 9/11 were brave people. This is a guy who thinks Trump Russia is a thing because. This is a guy who thinks that Horus and Christ are comparable, arguing only broad points. What was the movie he did? Religulous or whatever?
Yeah.
One of the dumbest movies I've seen, because it's one of the most poorly researched. There's a reason he did not interview Ravi Zacharias, but he interviewed Ken Ham.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the reason he didn't interview John Lennox and interviewed Ken Ham, or some other crackpot from some nowhere church, that somebody who can't even spell the word theology, let alone know what that means. Bill Maher is a quack.
How do you not understand the impact of comic books? Like,
he was in Iron Man 3!
Beyond just the entertainment value, it's writing. I mean, are you going to denigrate a writer for a movie or a TV show because it's not just purely the written word, because it's got visuals to go with it? No.
I don't think he could even read it. He's too stoned.
I mean, fucking Stan Lee wrote the words, "With great power there must also come great responsibility." That has become so ingrained in our culture, and you're going to disrespect that? Fuck you. Fuck you.
He is the walking
contrarian. He's a walking contrarian.
Well, he's the walking definition of the smug liberal.
Well, that too, yeah, absolutely.
Because this is what he's doing, is he's turning his nose up to everybody. You like comic books? Fnya.
No, fucking.
You like superheroes? Fnya.
Fucking, like, how in the holy hell can you act that fucking superior to everything else? Say, oh, comic books are just for little kids. Everybody else just grew up. It grew up and did what? Watched your show? Okay, well, maybe it would have been better to stay fucking kids. At least you'd have your goddamn brain cells.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus.
You could probably learn more from politics by reading Captain America than you could watching Real Time with Bill Maher.
Yeah. Even the fucking Ta-Nehisi Coates Captain America. You could probably do better with that than Real Time with Bill Maher. And that's fucking saying something.
Yeah. Surprised he didn't have Coates on to promote the book. Oh, yes. Wait. Because comics. By the way, fun fact, Bill, Ta-Nehisi Coates, who's somebody you would probably clearly enjoy the BBC from, if you know what I mean, on your own show, left writing The Atlantic, is still writing comics instead. But you smug cunt.
Fucking Exterminatus.
Execute Order 1776 on this asshole, and then we're moving on.
We have arrived, and it is now that we fulfill our charge. In fealty to the Lord our God, and by the grace of his throne, I declare exterminatus upon whatever scumbag we're declaring exterminatus on today. I hereby sign the death warrant of an entire wherever, and consign 1,000,000 souls, maybe, to oblivion. May imperial justice account in all balance. The Emperor protects. Deus vult, Deus vult, Deus vult, Deus vult, Deus vult, Deus vult.
Deus Vult.
Deus Vult indeed. All right. Final one. So Sony will apparently not be coming to E3.
Nope. Skipping out.
And
this is skipping out entirely, too. This isn't just like, oh, well, we're going to do like our own little direct announcement thing.
They're actually not doing the PlayStation Experience this year either.
No, they're not. They're not doing anything like that.
Yeah,
I mean, they're not going to have a show floor presence. They're not going to have a press conference,
which is surprising to me. Now, granted, so one thing would be is that E3 is not as important as it used to be. That is true. But on top of that, there's not really a lot for them to really show. They've got Spider-Man, which is out. It's the big hit of the year. The next big thing is Ghost of Tsushima, I think is what it's called, or something along those lines. That's their next big exclusive.
Everything that they covered at the last E3 is basically it for the docket. Last one was Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima.
Days Gone.
Days Gone. And then there was another game that was previewed there, too, that I remember saying that I really wanted to see. That sort of physics thing. But, I mean, it's not a whole lot. And the fact that they're skipping out on PlayStation Experience this year and E3 next year is like it's not exactly a vote of confidence for PlayStation fans.
No.
I mean, if anything, I would argue that this signals that we have a PlayStation 5 incoming and all resources have been diverted to making sure that launch isn't a complete clusterfuck.
It wouldn't surprise me if that would be the case.
Because this generation of consoles has been very underpowered. I mean, every generation before this, consoles have either been able to really rival or exceed the capabilities of your average PC.
Up until, but this one it didn't, up until the Pro
absolutely.
or the Xbox One X.
Yeah, which is exactly why those were released. Those were really the consoles that were supposed to be this generation. But they didn't want to wait, so they rushed shit out to market, and now that's what we ended up getting.
Pretty much. And oddly enough, it really seems to me that this generation games have largely been hit with a lot of controversy over marketing practices that were sort of just like a spiraling from the last generation. Too much emphasis on DLC, too much emphasis on microtransactions. I think too many companies really got too big for their britches. Oddly enough, Sony is not one of those, but the entire market has suffered from it, I think.
Absolutely.
Among other problems. Budgeting being the big one.
Yeah, it's basically been the shift to the mobile gaming experience, because that's what makes money. I mean, you've heard for years now that selling a $6 disc-based game is ultimately not going to be that profitable for a company, especially when you spend upwards of $100 and sometimes $200 million on development.
Yeah. Well, even the funny thing is like it's really more so the marketing budgets that are overblown, not necessarily the development. They'll spend almost as much on marketing as they do on development, which is ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
The idea that that's not going to sell, that word of mouth is not a thing for some reason, just doesn't make any sense. I would think that like TV ads, and things along those lines would probably be enough. But they tend to go overboard, and it really, and I think part of this is because the market is so young in comparison to a lot of other entertainment, that they're still learning on how to properly market without blowing your whole budget.
Yeah. But it's not a good sign for certain. And with the PS5, I guess, is what they're putting resources into. I hope it can compete. I mean, some people have been saying like we're only going to get like one or two more true console generations, and then everything is going to be either PC or mobile. And I know, some of y'all out there are really going to enjoy that, but to be perfectly honest, I don't like that.
Well, I don't even know if it's that is probably the next thing that they're focusing on, but that's probably like a year or two down the road. I would say
2020 at the earliest.
Yeah, like good, but that's part of the problem. On top of that, it really feels like they really had a problem with just making new releases exciting for people, and that's because I remember the the old days, like a new game really felt like something that the whole community was really excited about.
Oh yeah,
and there was pure excitement about it. Nowadays, there have been so many faux pas made by the companies in the process of getting the news out there, or decisions that were made on the business end that shouldn't have been made, that it seems like hype just tends to die before the game even gets released. I mean, EA is suffering from a similar problem. And then, oddly enough, Sony are not the companies that have really suffered from this. They've actually been very consistent.
Yeah.
But here we are. They're falling flat like the rest of the industry is because of these problems. Because when it comes right down to it, I don't think that anybody really judges companies as companies anymore. They seem to judge the medium. And I find that to be rather annoying. So now what I do think, I don't think that Sony's going to exit the industry. I think that they're probably just going to try to focus and replan the next couple of years, which is smart. I think a lot of companies should do that right now. I think EA needs to do that. I think a lot of them that are on a down, like, there's no reason the games industry should be going down in an up economy. There's no fucking reason. But
Sony's also got just, back end problems too. Like, Sony Computer Entertainment is the really only profitable wing of Sony the company.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they got to figure that shit out too.
Yeah. But yeah, that's just what tickles me is that they had, like, the PlayStation 4 Pro is a great console.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And the PS3 was a great console. And the PS2 was a great console. The PlayStation was a great console. Like, they have been the most consistent company, in my opinion, over the last 2 decades.
PSP was a great console. The Vita, I would even say, was a console that was way ahead of its time.
It just nobody got into it. Yeah.
Sony basically abandoned it.
Yeah.
Like, they had it around for a couple of years, and then they basically just let it die, or let it become a place for JRPGs, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And for people like me who don't give a fuck about JRPGs, it's not that good. But no, I still say that was way ahead of its fucking time.
Oh yeah. But that's the thing, is that the economy right now for video games is just not as good as it could be.
Yeah.
But I have high hopes for them. I really do. I think that they have a great lineup of exclusives. What I am hoping that they would do is they would continue to work with Marvel and Disney and continue to make great comic book games. Because if they could be as good as Spider-Man, not the DLC, mind you, and we'll talk about that another time, but it could be as good as Insomniac Spider-Man, dude, I want to see Santa Monica do a Hulk game or a Captain America game in the style of a Captain America game in the style of the most recent God of War.
Yeah.
That would be pretty sick. Anyway, we need to move on to the Q&A. So I will check the Discord if the Hatman will check the Twitter and see what people are thinking.
I've got a Twitter.
What do we got?
Eric, the dank horse now. Thoughts on Microsoft buying Obsidian and In Exile? Both companies have a history of bad management, so will some corporate oversight help them finally get their shit together, or are they about to get BioWared?
Well, BioWare didn't get bad until EA and then Zestchuk and what's his name left.
Yeah.
Like, Mass Effect 3 is what broke BioWare and their bad hiring practices.
Pretty much, yeah.
And even then, Inquisition was still fun. Just didn't really have the staying power that the first Dragon Age did.
Also, EA is just a terrible corporate overlord.
They really are. They just too much emphasis on quick profit, not enough on what I call smart profit of customer retention.
Yeah. I don't think they will get BioWared. I think they'll be good under Microsoft. I don't see Microsoft putting too much of a grip, or too tight of a grip on them.
I think that they're going to know what makes Obsidian work well.
Yeah, they don't really grip into the other ones too tightly. Only one I can think of that hasn't done well under Microsoft is Rare.
Yeah,
to be completely honest,
but
Rare was best when dealing with Nintendo properties.
Yeah, well,
anymore.
Well, so. Banjo was theirs.
Yeah, true. Banjo was theirs, and fucking we don't talk about
Killer Instinct.
Yes, and of course they got another studio to do Killer Instinct.
Yeah, they contracted that one out.
Yeah,
which was awesome.
Yeah,
and apparently they're doing Battletoads.
Yeah, but they did do Sea of Thieves.
Yes, and people enjoy it. It doesn't have enough content to it really.
Yeah.
But some people liked it quite a bit. I thought it looked fun as hell. I'm looking forward to when the expansions come out. That seems what everybody's waiting for, is when the expansions come out, and then everybody's going to probably get it or just buy it or have it on Game Pass. But, you know, when it comes right down to it, I think that Microsoft, you know, and then of course there was the Gears of War trilogy. Epic did really well under them. And if it weren't for Fortnite, Epic would probably be dead now.
Yeah.
But the coalition with Gears 4 did really good. The only real game faux pas I can think that they really had was Halo 5, but even then that was more on the developers than it was on Microsoft.
Shit, I don't know. You want to talk about the fucking Master Chief
Collection? Well, there's that. Well, 343 has struggled.
Literally taking years to fix.
Yeah, like that. 343 has struggled. I wouldn't put that under Microsoft, though. Yeah, if anything, Microsoft is too loose.
Yeah, that is true. 343. The problem with Halo 5 really is the guy that got to write it was just shit.
Yeah.
He hadn't really done much before. And Halo 4's writing, like, going back and playing it, it's really solid.
It is a lot. It is pretty good.
It is a lot better than I remembered it being. Halo 5 is just garbage.
I would have hired J. Michael Straczynski to do Halo.
Oh my god.
Writer of Babylon 5 on fucking Halo. Give me that, you know.
Please.
Fucking hell, man. That'd be amazing. But no, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. I honestly wish they still had the Star Wars properties, because Knights of the Old Republic 2 was awesome. That is the only worry is that was, oddly enough, one time that was more of a LucasArts fuck up than that was Microsoft. So
shit, you want to give KOTOR back to BioWare?
No.
Yeah, no.
Well, they have it now. And the Old Republic is a really good MMO.
Yes, but
with great writing. But that's then again they're in Texas, so that's probably why. Because everything's better in Texas.
Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next Twitter question. Duke of Tumwater, what are our thoughts on the backlash to Red Dead Redemption 2's realism from some pundits, and how they proclaim hypocrisy on the part of hardcores for enjoying a walking simulator in reference to their disdain for games like Gone Home?
Gone Home's not realistic.
Hold on. How in the hell is Red Dead Redemption 2 anywhere close to a walking simulator?
You do things in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
And it's not about lesbians.
How is that a walking simulator? That's like saying fucking Grand Theft Auto.
Can we put a game journalist in Red Dead Redemption 2 so I can tie them to a train track? Please.
Feed him to an alligator.
I wouldn't be able to get Jim Sterling on the horse, but I could drag him behind it probably.
How can you argue anything like that?
Be a games journalist and being colossally stupid.
You have to be some kind of special fucking retarded to completely, one, misappropriate what a walking simulator is referring to, and two, call a fucking game like Red Dead Redemption 2 a walking simulator.
Hatman. Game journalists.
Yeah, I know.
These are stupid people.
I'm still amazed.
They are fake news.
I'm still amazed. Like, just when I think they can't get dumber, I'm amazed again.
Keep in mind that Nathan Grayson exists.
Yeah, and Anthony Birch. You know what? That's a good thing to remember. At least we're not
Anthony Birch. All right, on to the chat.
Talon says he has one in the Discord. So.
Oh. All right. What do we got? Where? Oh, there it is. Okay, if major companies move to mobile as it seems to be, what do you think will happen to console and PC gaming? Will AA game industries be able to keep them off, keep them going to die off in microtransaction simulators that corporations want games to be? I don't think that I think that corporations are actually going to start to back off on that, because you have to keep in mind EA's stock is going down catastrophically because of that. Mm-hmm. They're still reeling from Battlefront 2, and Battlefield, the most recent Battlefield, failed in comparison to other games. You have to keep in mind, it was Ian Miles Chong put this out on Twitter, is that the pre-orders for Black Ops 4, which has no has transactions, but it's not a transaction-heavy game. You can earn everything in-game. That game sold 35 times more pre-orders in shops than the most recent Battlefield. And Red Dead Redemption 2 got double that. So the console market is still there. It's still there, but you have to retain your customers. You have to ask yourself, why are they here? What brought them to the dance? And you keep giving them that. Mm-hmm. It is, like I said, it's the smart money. The smart money is on customer retention. And a lot of companies don't seem to understand that. So
it's like Ghost says, EA told people not to buy Battlefield 5 if they didn't like it.
And they didn't.
Nope. Whoops.
All right, what do we got from the chat today? Have either of us played RimWorld? Never heard of it.
I've heard of it. I haven't played it, though. It's a PC game, I believe, so I kind of can't.
Why did that not pop up? We just got a donation from somebody. Hold on a second.
Streamlabs being a fuck again?
Yes. Torino de Guzman says, here's $10. Says, here's something for you to enjoy. Also, what is our opinion on Fallout 76? Ooh. More Super Robot stuff for me to enjoy. I will look into that. But, oh, it's an emulate. Something I can emulate. But anyway, Fallout 76 actually does look like fun. But it's not what I'm really wanting to play right now, unless I had like 3 other people to play it with.
Y'all know me.
Hatman does not do post-apocalyptic Fallout stuff.
I don't give a fuck about Fallout. I definitely don't give a fuck about Fallout 76.
He's not an open world guy.
Well, even then, like, it looks like it's trying to be fucking Borderlands.
Well, no, it's more like DayZ with Fallout.
Yeah, no, just I don't. Mm-mm.
Yeah, and for me personally, yeah, I wouldn't play that game without a posse.
Mm-mm. I already didn't fucking like Borderlands single player, so.
Okay, let's see here. With Microsoft purchasing 2 primarily PC games and the release of what would have been Xbox exclusives, would you say that Microsoft seems to be putting more focus on PC? Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
All of their biggest games are available on PC as well. Killer Instinct, Gears of War 4. The Halo games have not been put on there, but they probably will. Sunset Overdrive just came onto the PC.
Yep, that's a great game too. Go pick it up if you haven't played it yet.
Yeah, so yeah, I hear Crackdown 3 will be as well. I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because one of the future game nights that I want to do is Hatman and I and Thesk playing Horde mode in Gears 4.
Oh, absolutely.
Because Horde mode in Gears 4 is the shit.
Absolutely. It seems like they're trying to future-proof their library.
Yeah, which is smart.
Like we were saying, it seems like gaming is trending more towards PC again. So put your fucking games on PC too.
Yeah.
Especially since, you kind of own the operating system that most people are using in the first
Exactly.
place.
For them, it's easy to develop. They have made Windows easy as like with Windows 10. One of their goals was to make it a easy platform to develop for.
Yeah, why the hell not? I mean, if the architecture is similar enough, just easy fucking port.
Exactly.
Jesus.
So, God, if we could have 5 people on Gears 4 Horde mode, who lad?
Yeah.
I will warn people though, as Brainbox and Talon can tell you, I am a strict fucking commander. But then again, I would like to think that working with me that's one of my things. Is I am kind of strict on time, and I will. How many times, Hatman, have I sent you a text that just says "hat"?
Oh, not only that, but also post a message on Twitter. Hey, everybody, annoy Hatman and tell him.
Yes, I do that too. But it does keep the ship on track. So,
yeah.
And I do it in love. I'm not a mean person. It's just like, what's up? It's just my way of getting your attention.
Xbox is killing it with Game Pass, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
that's a brilliant idea. Netflix for video games.
Yeah, that's how I'm able to fucking play any of the Gears games.
Yeah.
Game.
Okay. Hardboiled Entertainment wants to know, what are our picks for Game of the Year so far? For me, it would be God of War. I haven't played Red Dead 2 though. God of War or Spider-Man.
I haven't played enough, so I don't have a pick.
So
I'll be getting God of War soon though, because
best multiplayer would probably be For Honor. For me, anyway. Though I haven't played a lot of multiplayer this year.
Who was it that gave Fortnite Game of the Year?
I don't even remember, but
it was some bullshit.
Definitely the most popular Game of the Year.
Yeah, but I don't even see the fucking popularity.
I played a little bit, but it is like Battle Royale games are are like crack. They really are. They're very addictive.
They're basically like the MOBAs of this year.
No, it really just basically is take a first person or third person shooter, make a giant fucking map that closes in on itself, and make everybody fight each other till there's one guy left.
Yeah, but
it really is a ton of fun because you've got to be smart about where you're at and what you're doing.
I mean, it basically just seems like a fad, like MOBAs were.
Yeah, it probably won't be a big thing in 5 years, but people seem to enjoy it.
Well, to each their own, I suppose. It's not for me.
Okay, let's see here. But yeah, one thing I would really like to see is to see the whole Gears series brought to PC. Because Gears of War 3 is phenomenal as a video game. And it has one of the saddest moments in a shooter ever. Like, the Gears series had shockingly good storytelling. Shockingly good. And it was with all the fucking you could meme on it all day. I'm perfectly fine with people making fun of it because God knows Gears even makes fun of itself. But there are elements of that story that are just great. It really is the Predator of shooter games in a sense.
It's kind of weird going from like Gears 1 into Gears 2, and Gears 2 being so story heavy as it is.
Yeah.
Gears 1, like, yeah, you got it, but it was mostly in the background.
Yeah, it was very much storytelling through environment.
Yeah. Just finding Maria in Gears 2, though, man. That's...
Fuck.
Yeah. Fuck.
Dominic Santiago is a great character, though.
Oh, hell yes.
He's an awesome character. Awesome character. He was my, like, the guy I usually played as in Gears and multiplayer. Well, him and Marcus.
I always play Gears co-op, and I always played as Dom.
Yeah,
so.
He was great. Great character. All right, guys. It has been an hour. We need to get going, actually, because we have a review to record.
We do.
We going to be talking about some dank horses.
Yeah, and then we can leave it behind. Finally, we can leave it behind.
Well, somebody said, how much would it cost for me to watch the entire series? We're not going to torture Hatman with that. If you want to pay me, it's going to have to be pretty significant.
No, it would have.
That's a lot of watching.
It would have to be very significant for me.
And I am going to talk about DCEU relationships. I need to rewatch Suicide Squad before I do that, though. So, but yeah, for the overflow, go ahead and place your questions in the chat right now. Tag Bringbox Boy in them. He will be picking them up for us, and we will answer those later in the week. But for now, we are going to take off and get that taken care of for you for Foxhelm. Mm-hmm. And like we said, we're open for business when it comes to reviews on stuff, or if you want something for game night, please let you know. That would be another thing to do. But in the meantime, we're going to take off. My name is Micah Curtis.
I'm Alex Baldwin, also known as The Hatman.
And we'll see you next time, true believers. Deus Vult.